Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard to On the Homefront. My name is John Murphy. Very happy to share some time with you once again here on WILI. We're live every Wednesday at 5 o'clock at AM 1400 and 95.3 on the FM, and we're also on YouTube, obviously, here with the video. WILI Radio has a channel on YouTube for many of our shows with playlists. You can catch all the programs if you miss one, and some of our guests use those shows to help promote their good work throughout the year. Our program today will have two segments, plus we'll have some information at the end, a preview of the spring. But we're going to look at trout, unlimited, and fishing and water conservation and preservation in our region with Steve Gerling. He was on a couple of weeks ago with his work with the Ashford Area Arts Council, but he's also a fisherman. So with the weather changing right now, it's a good time of the year to look at that. And right now we're going to open with the second annual Green Frog Film Festival at Eastern Connecticut State University. I was very happy to be there last year for the debut. And sitting next to me is Brian Day, an associate professor in filmmaking at Eastern. I'm a colleague of his in the Communication, Film, and Theater Department. So thank you for being here today and for all the work you've done to put together another festival, man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, it's coming up Saturday, April 11th on the Eastern campus on different locations. I guess one thing we could do now is maybe do a quick preview of what you put together this year and if there are any surprises or changes from the first time.
Oh, okay, great. So it is going to be Saturday, the April 11th, from 4 to 7:30. So I changed the time, so it's earlier in the day. So it's 4 to 7:30, and it is in 3 spaces inside the Student Center,
right.
The theater, and 2 rooms. And it'll be easy to find. We'll have signage out. This year we have 22 films from 8 different countries, spanning from a 2-hour-long documentary down to a 3-minute promotional piece. And they all focus on sustainability and the pillars of sustainability, which are economic issues, social issues, and environmental issues. So all the films are unique, interesting, bringing different perspectives, really kind of open our eyes in different ways to think about broader kind of global issues that we're all wrestling with.
Yes. And how do you put together a program of this nature? Because these are not the commercial industry kinds of films. They're independent works of love and art. So there's a different kind of economy for this kind of filmmaking. So how does it tie into that, and how do you decide the sources?
Oh, good. Great question.
Yeah.
So when we started this last year, one of the ideas was to create an identity to our film festival that would be different than most film festivals. And so we really went with this idea of sustainability. There are environmental film festivals. There are social issue film festivals. There are mental health film festivals.
Yeah.
But we really wanted to kind of brand ourselves in a very unique way. And by talking about sustainability, which has a variety of categories, it limits the films we'll take, but it still has a pretty broad category. And these filmmakers that are making this content are really wanting the audience to walk away thinking about things, maybe challenging them, maybe enlightening them, and they're not necessarily going to find their homes at other film festivals because the content may be too diverse. But
right.
With us, they're finding a unique home that fits with us, and I'm always surprised about the amount of turnout we get.
You know, it's really nice. There are so many festivals, and I'm a film buff since I was a kid. I love cinema, so film festivals are wonderful. But there are many, but having a theme, something that gives it continuity year to year, kind of builds kind of a momentum of its own. And tying into our area with the Green Frog is a local thing, so that's a wonderful idea to tie it in.
Right, and it fits so perfectly.
It does. So when you put it together, what's the biggest obstacle? Is it a budget issue of how many? Is it a matter of logistics? How can this keep growing? Because it's really kind of your baby right now, and you're working on it. How is this going to grow in the future? Because you want it to stay with us.
I do.
Yeah.
My plan is just to make it an annual event every year. I'd
Right.
like to move it into different spaces where we can draw different crowds. I'd like it to become not only where you come and watch films, but you hear workshops, you hear panels. Maybe we have filmmakers come and talk about the work. Maybe we have scientists come and talk about some of the sustainability issues that are going on. We just make it a more robust, a more diverse experience for the audience. But
Yeah.
right now, we're lucky to get films that are coming from Iran, they're coming from France, and you really get the flavor of storytelling and the way different cultures see the world and think about the world, and how they bring those stories to the front.
All right. So in case you've joined us, though, in terms of the radio, we're speaking with Brian Day from Eastern right now about the second annual Green Frog Film Festival, Saturday, April 11th from 4 to 7:30 on the campus. And for technology, it's so great to have a common digital technology that can be easily shared today, because sharing video and film used to be very difficult. And I just wonder, how is technology helping you collect these films? Are you getting DVDs? Are you getting access to links for showing? How do you physically get these stories together?
That's a great question. So I'll date myself, but several decades ago, when I was submitting my first films to film festivals, we'd have to have a film print. And so you had to put all the expense into making film prints, and then you send it
16 millimeters,
16 millimeter
right.
film prints,
Yeah.
and then you'd send a video copy of that, which wouldn't look that great. But then if it got accepted, you had to supply them with a film print, which meant you had to be really selective of where you sent, and a lot of times you'd have to take it by hand.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's all digital. So when I put up, and there's actually a website that where I can, after we've crafted this film festival and all the materials that we want for it, I create a kind of like a web page on this website that's called Film Freeway. And it has all the film festivals from around the world. And so when I put it up there, I have to figure out a way to make our film festival unique from all the other ones out there. And that's where it becomes sustainability and tapping into particular ideas and themes. And then the filmmakers can fill out their materials, which are data information about the name of the director, the length of the film, the genre, what the film's about. They can supply photos that can kind of give us an idea, and then they can give me a link to the film. So it's all on this one site, and then I get that collection of films, and they come in over time. So sometimes I'll check, and it'll be like, okay, we've just gotten 3 films, and the next thing I check, 20 came in. And it's a matter of how people are looking at that site around the world at different times.
It's a live space. That's really cool.
It is. It's coming in, and then I've got films that are, again, coming from Iran, coming from all around the world. They put a link up there. Then when I have a deadline of when submission deadline is, then I get a panel of judges together, and I kind of divvy up the films to a variety of people so that there's multiple eyes looking at it, and then they have an evaluation form to kind of score the films that they feel are the higher quality, because we're going to have 22 screened, but we had quite a few more than that came in. We had double that came in, so we had to lose half of the films for quality and then just for screen time to be able to manage the screen time.
Right. It's quite a logistical project, and the whole idea of continuity, because everybody is concerned about the environment today, and sometimes people they haven't connected yet to know what they can do besides being a smart consumer, recycling, trying not to damage the environment. Well, these are ideas people are sharing about how to actually change things, and it gets political. I know in the world of journalism today, some of them are getting shot. They're getting in serious trouble for trying to present alternative points of view, and they've received violence. And so this environment space is very challenging today. So having a safe haven where people can connect from everywhere knowing that they're okay is a very powerful thing to have.
It is, and it's just really it really ties together the human experience with the environment. So one of the films talks about veterans that have struggled with PTSD, and that fly fishing is a way to calm their nerves, and that protecting the space for them to be able to do that. So it's connecting how we're not thinking about our environment, but yet the environment provides this therapeutic connection to people that need it. There's another one where there's an artist that really used a swamp as her kind of motivation to create her art, and that swamp was being endangered for urban development, and so she created a nonprofit to protect it. So again, this idea of how we're connected to the nature in all different kinds of ways, and then sometimes how we don't even think about the things that we use, our tools, our phones, and the things that, I think everybody's connected to AI now in some way, shape, or form, but what we don't realize is that AI requires so much more power than all our other electronics and other sources, and there's an environmental cost to that. And somebody's paying the cost of that environmental, and eventually we all will have an impact by that. And these films bring that to our attention because we're not thinking about that. And that's the value of these. They entertain us, they inform us, they engage us, and maybe nudge us to be a little bit more mindful of how we're existing.
I know the thing with AI data centers is just a real challenge, and many towns are really afraid because they're trying to site these facilities where the environment is not really suited for it, so they're trying to put limits on how much water they can use because the amount of energy they will consume will affect the local grid. And that's an impact that has to be included in all these equations, right? That's part of what storytelling does. It puts it all in a more holistic point of view.
Right, exactly. Do you want it in your backyard? That's the idea, right? Like somebody's backyard is going to have to be there.
Right.
And, we don't think about it until it's our own backyard.
That's right. Now, while I have Brian Day here, I also want to talk about the work that's happening at Eastern and the arts program for filmmaking and video, because that's part of what you do is storytelling and to kind of integrate that into the curriculum. Correct. So for Eastern students today, can you talk how they're able to tap into this technology to learn the technology, but also the craft of thinking and storytelling? And then how do you engage this field after graduation? Where do you find a path?
That's a great question. So actually one of our, several of my students created a documentary last year that tied into sustainability, and it's going to be included in the film festival. So it was quality enough to compete with these films from around the world. And that's our goal, is to have our students create the content that is equal to what's being created around the world. And this will open up avenues, right? Everything is becoming focused on visual storytelling. You can take a documentary type of format of telling a story and apply that to the corporate world. You can apply that to the nonprofit world. You can apply that to the commercial world. There's just so many ways, instead of just limiting to what we think of as a fiction film or a series that we might see on Netflix. There's so many avenues that visual storytelling is being incorporated, and our students are being trained to be able to do that with state-of-the-art equipment, and most importantly, the understanding of how do we do it with our brains, and that anything is just a tool that we use to accomplish that. And that if you know how to do it with your brain, you can learn a tool pretty quickly.
Well, that's one thing that, that connects all art is the blank page.
Right.
And then it's where you go from there.
Right, exactly.
And for students today, what do you think some of the greatest challenges they face? Is it the economics of getting into school? Is it the economics of trying to find a place when the industry itself is going through huge changes in jobs themselves? So how do I find a job in a field that's going through an incredible, change? How do you match it up?
That's a great question. And I think that ties into this film festival, because the film festival, seeing films from around the world and people telling these stories, can ignite the excitement to be able to want to be a part of that in a world where it feels very, very scary college is expensive, but that investment can be worth it in the long run, right? 20 years down, if you've been able to do something you loved, that investment all of a sudden seems like it was worth it.
You were enabled.
Yeah, you were enabled to be able to do that. And then there is that pressure. The industry is constantly changing, but then you go and you see these films that are replica of what you saw 10 or 15 years ago, but they're done differently. And you realize that the art is still there even when everything's changing, and that it's never been a known factor, right? That's one of the things, is that we've always thought that maybe they knew how to do things before, and now it's so changing that nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody ever knew what they were doing, right? It's always been a series of just kind of making adjustments and trying to, run a little bit faster than the world is moving. Just be one step ahead, but you're never one step ahead. You're actually one step behind, just trying to catch up.
Oh, yeah. If you learn the film history, that's the norm.
Yeah.
It's always a very controlled explosion, I guess. Speaking of explosions. Well, once again, I want to mention the Green Frog Film Festival, Saturday, April 11th, from 4 to 7:30 at the Student Center in the heart of the Eastern Campus, just about a mile or two away from our studios. It's in a few locations in the building. And is there anything that you wanted to share that I haven't touched on yet about the program? It's very easy parking there. On a Saturday, parking is beautiful. It's hard on the weekdays sometimes, but on the weekends it's pretty good.
The parking will be easy. It's a free event, so
I forgot to
there's
mention
no
that.
cost. Come out, enjoy some films. You don't have to stay for the whole event. You can come for an hour. You can come for a half hour. You can come for the whole event, and it's walk from room to room. You'll get a program, see what films are playing. You can go in and watch 2 films in one room, walk across to another room, watch a couple of films. So it's a really you have a lot of freedom in the choices of how you participate.
I did. I tell you, I was there last year. It was wonderful. They have a nice cafe in the student union. There's a whole student center thing there. You have a cup of coffee or some food. It's a beautiful way to spend a few hours and travel around the planet as everybody's trying to figure out the same things in different ways, and that's part of the fun. So, Brian Day, I want to thank you for all the work you do to make this happen, and we wish you the very best of luck, and hopefully we'll have him back next spring, and we'll keep this going. It's a great idea, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Great to be here.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break and come back, or we're going to go fishing, so you stay right here and put on your waders. Hey, everybody, welcome back to On the Homefront. We're glad to have you with us. If you have some news you want to share, If you have a larger story that needs more time, come on to the studio. The door is open. Matthew talks to everybody. Just use email to make the connection, and we can plan any Wednesday live here at WILI. Just use John at Human Arts Media. I'm getting lots of mail. Thank you very much. And we arrange all of our guests, and we're here each week. And WILI Radio has a channel on the YouTube. And if you go there, many of our shows have playlists. You can catch all the shows all the time. All right, well, we're doing this show on April Fool's Day, man. April Fool's Day, congratulations.
My middle name, thank you.
That's right, It's it. I should have done something silly, but I didn't. I wasn't prepared to be a fool because I'm a fool all the time, except for April Fool's Day.
Ask my wife. I fit the bill perfectly.
But we're going to talk about fish. Trout Unlimited is a national conservation organization trying to protect and preserve streams everywhere for fishing and for the environment and for the joy of casting out. Steve Gerling is also here. He's also been on the show from the Ashford Area Arts Council. But this time he's talking about trout. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. My treat.
And it's an important time for trout people to
It is.
testify.
It is. So, anyhow.
Trout Unlimited.
Yep. The organization has been around for almost 70 years now, founded by a group of fishermen out in Michigan who were basically kind of disturbed at habitat degradation, I think, more than anything else. Now, Trout Unlimited aims at primarily cold water fisheries, which is pretty much trout and salmon.
Okay.
Which have always been sort of, I think, regarded as bellwethers for the overall health of any particular environmental areas.
Like a canary in a coal mine.
Pretty much. And I've always, in terms of places to live, I've always pretty much regarded if it's fit for trout to live there, then it's probably fit for humans as long as we don't mess it up too much. And that's what we're fighting. So.
Right. Now, there's a national website, and then there's a local one. So I want to give you these now. You should jot them down because it's really an important organization. www is the usual, .tu.org, Trout Unlimited. So it's .tu.org. And they have a local chapter in North Franklin, and it's ThamesValleyTU.org. So why don't you talk about the local activities you folks meet, and you're planning a busy season now, so how can we connect people to North Franklin?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. Again, if you hit that website, you can hit pretty much of the load of information that you need. We have a really good monthly newsletter which tells some of our activities. We're always looking for conservation projects. In the past, we've done things like worked on fish ladder installation and repair. One of the tasks that Trout Unlimited is trying to do is find more options for fish that move up through rivers to spawn.
Right.
As I think most people who fish realize that was the pretty much the death knell for salmon fishing in New England. New England has such a tremendous source of water power that very early on
it was huge.
People took advantage of that, and that unfortunately salmon were a casualty of that. Now we're trying to work with dam owners and other interested parties, trying to find ways around that. Fish ladders, in some cases, I think at Trout Unlimited has always been in the forefront of removing unnecessary dams. This is especially true out in the West. Some enormous dams have been breached in the Northwest in particular, allowing salmon and native salmon and steelhead to come back up into rivers they haven't been in decades and in some cases centuries.
So the previous historic need maybe for a dam at one time when they needed it, it just wasn't removed or like enabled. It just sat there.
Now there are some dams that are still being held on to for hydropower. Even we don't think of that much, but even here in southern Connecticut, right here in the town of Willimantic and so forth, there are dams that have a legitimate industrial use to them, and we're trying to find ways to work with that. We can't really put our needs against everybody else's. I mean, we could take the high ground and say, wow, if there's no trout, there's, if they're not looking out for that, then there's nothing else out there. But being realistic, different people have different needs and different priorities. So we try to work with that. Trout Unlimited has always been instrumental in things like fish ladders everywhere as an alternative to taking out dams. We've also been looking out for the streamside habitat. We've got a lot of tree planting operations that have gone on just to try to hold the temperature down in the water. Now that's a big problem that trout and other salmonids are up against, is increasing water temperatures. So things like free-flowing water will naturally keep a lower temperature.
Right.
It'll keep the water better oxygenated. Getting shade back over rivers is a big plus. A small stream that's flowed forever, now all of a sudden everything has been stripped from the banks, is going to warm up pretty fast. And that is...
not the same environment anymore.
No. And
Yeah.
Trout cannot take a high water temperature. Once the water is up into the 70s, it's all bets are off for trout.
Wow. Yeah. Now, I was waiting to ask you before because I didn't want to interrupt. I've seen some images of what fish ladders do, and I have an idea of the incredible engineering and working with gravity and gravity flows. But could you, without losing us in physics, how a fish ladder works so people know how simple this is and what the impact is in a good way?
It's pretty simple when you come down to it. If you want to get upstairs, do you want to stand on the living room floor and jump up and grab the upper floor and pull yourself up? Or do you want to go up a flight of stairs? The same idea. A fish ladder, in a lot of cases, will funnel water down into a step of troughs all the way down. And these
Kind of like
fish-
plateaus.
Exactly.
Right?
Jump in here, rest a little bit, jump up here, jump up here, jump up here, and then into the main body of water. In some places where things like development have gotten in the way of the practicality of that, they also have fish elevators, which are in effect exactly that. A large compartment will rest at river level for a certain amount of time. Usually they're monitored visually. You get a collection of fish in there, and then it's hauled up on a system of cables,
Take a ride.
whatever, up to the upper level, and then the exit door is opened, and away they go. That's pretty easy, relatively speaking. The fish getting back downstream once they've spawned, or the young fish
Right.
that are trying to make their way down, it's a little trickier for them.
Yeah.
Especially in the case of hydroelectric operations, you don't even think about that. But of what happens when, the little young fish take that route down, I would imagine being inside an electric turbine could be a pretty unpleasant experience for but
probably
at least it's
short,
something.
but-
A short, very short experience. But we try to get at least enough going through to replete the population.
Right. Every species has a variation.
Yeah.
Turtles do the same thing. Other ones
Yeah.
do that just to survive. But the thing is, because they're bellwethers, the reason why Steve is here is that they're kind of an indicator of how the environment is doing. And I wondered if you take a bigger zoom out of the eastern parts, and so your chapter's in North Franklin, what's the water like in our area now compared to the last few years? Is it holding stable? Are there problem areas?
It's getting warmer. There's just no denying it. Like everything else is getting warmer. You just simply can't deny that, and it's getting to be a problem. That's why we're trying to protect more and more tiny little streams where these little tiny brook trout have been in there naturally reproducing like forever. They're remarkably resilient. They're actually the only native species of trout in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah. All these browns and rainbows, they've all been introduced. But at least certainly on the East Coast, it's these brookies. And, it's interesting. You find some little thing that you can hop across and, lo and behold, if you really know how to do it, in so many of those, you'll be able to poke around and and you'll find brookies that are yay long, and,
Wow.
and they're fully mature.
And like little
Just-
minnows.
Yep, but they're fully
mature.
mature. And when things get warm, they'll just find a deep hole and they'll nestle down under a stream bank.
Cool off.
Or find a little seep from a spring that's coming in. This is why we really, really, really urge people who love to fish, once that water starts warming up, try to find a freshwater species to fish for. Even if you're a catch and release fisherman, trout cannot withstand that stress of a fight in the warm water.
Because they're already compromised.
They're already compromised, and you get something called lactic acid that builds up in them, and they can't recover. You may do everything you can to release them safely, but they physically probably won't. You may not see it, but 50 yards down that river,
They're
that
not gonna
trout
make
might
it.
be that you took such great care with, might just be floating belly up. So we really urge people to go light on the trout. And if you're out fishing in late June or something, and you come across a little stretch of river and you look and, my gosh, here's a line of like 100 trout stacked up in a line along a little edge, and you think, this is the mother lode. No, that just means that those few trout that are in there have found a colder spring that's carrying more oxygen, and they're really there just trying to survive.
It's their safe space, yeah.
If you hit one of those spots, leave it alone. Don't tell people.
There you go.
Don't tell people. Watch it, enjoy it, and if you find it, encourage anybody you see. No, leave them. Leave them. Give them a chance to survive the summer. So.
Now, when you said the concern was that the water is always increasing in temperature. Is that mostly weather-related from above, or is it our activity, or is it just that things are getting hotter, the weather's warmer, and that just trickles down, and that's them as well?
Global warming, period.
That's it.
That's the game, global warming. And it's unfortunate. Growing up, I think, John, you're approaching an age that I am, which is...
We're in the club.
Yeah. As a kid, I grew up in, a typical mill town up in Putnam, and we had a science teacher, a biology teacher, that said, there's this thing called the Clean Water Act that's starting to happen, and in a few years, you're going to be able to catch trout in the Quinnebog River, and all of us would almost double over laughing at that thought. Those rivers were so filthy then, and lo and behold, George St. Marie was right.
That was mid-'60s, right?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that powers that be, which we won't even go there, are peeling back on those regulations, which, hey, people, for your own life, don't peel back on that. I mean, anybody who's over the age of about 50 remembers what dirty water and filthy air was like.
Yeah.
And don't want to go back to those days.
Well, they just undid some of the rules, like the EPA, the
Yeah.
organization that President Nixon, of all things, in
Yep.
71, I think.
Yep.
EPA, and that's,
Yep.
that was a big one.
Yep.
Well, anyway, if you just joined us on the radio today, we're talking with Steve Gerling from Trout Unlimited, and they have a website here. There are chapters based in North Franklin, and the website I want you to jot down is thamesvalleytu.org. TU is Trout Unlimited. If I went to the website there, what would I find?
Well, you would find mission statements, everything else, but
Yeah.
excuse me, more importantly, you would find our newsletter
Oh, you mentioned that, yeah.
that will spell out some of the activities we're going on. There's a whole list of past newsletters. There's information about upcoming meetings. The meetings are always pretty interesting. We'll usually have a short business meeting. There's sort of an executive meeting a week before.
Right.
But the membership meeting is on the third Tuesday of the month, and early open doors at 6 o'clock, and there's usually maybe a couple people there tying flies, and just general socializing. And then the business meeting starts, and the business meeting usually doesn't take very long, but we usually have a real interesting speaker. on one topic or another. I think our next one coming is a captain that runs one of the saltwater boats here, which is a little bit out of our purvey, but that's all right. He's been there before, does a great presentation. Our last meeting, we have a fellow that does a lot of steelhead fishing along the Great Lakes, and he was filling people in. There's a very famous river up there called Salmon River, and he said, you don't have to go to the salmon. There's all these other rivers up there that are full of steelhead, and I want to go into what steelhead are. If you don't, if you know what they are, you know, and if you don't, it's like they're quite a spectacular beast. They're identical to rainbow trout, but for whatever reason, at some point they decided to go to traditionally salt water to spend most of their lives before they come up to spawn. But they tried again when the EPA came into being. They stocked the Great Lakes with steelhead and Pacific salmon, and the results were stupendous. The runs that went up into those rivers was just amazing. But that is what happens when you have clean water. None of those would be there without it.
Now, at the micro level of streams, let's kind of zoom out a little bit. Across the state, towns are struggling with sewage runoff going into rivers. Towns are polluting rivers. They have some fines, but it's just out of their control. Do you have thoughts to share with people who are still, this has been going on forever, and it's still pollution, it's still unresolved?
What the regular homeowner can do, it's like, well, I may not make friends with some of these companies, but your lawn will be just fine without pumping it full of fertilizer. The runoff from that winds up in rivers, and what it does is it makes it rich for algae that absorb the oxygen out of the water.
And you get blooms too.
You get these algal blooms that are just gross, and a lot of that is overly fertilized lawns, overly fertilized gardens. Salt doesn't do the rivers any favors, I'm sure. As far as, sewage overflows in a bad storm, I could only put a personal opinion out there that's usually a very quick event, and it's disgusting for a couple of days or two.
It's a storm.
It's a storm, exactly. It's pretty much disgusting for us too. When I don't lose a lot of sleep over that. The other, and again, thing that terrifies me now is the use of insecticides, particularly this huge class of insecticides. They're called neonicotinoids or neonics, and they hit the insects very effectively, and they keep hitting them, and they keep hitting them, and it hits all the way down the food chain. And they're pretty indiscriminate. And to tell you the truth, I'm not saying I like mosquitoes, but if you've been outside during the summer the last couple of years, there are not many mosquitoes. And as much as I would rather not be bitten, that scares the daylights out of me, scares the ever-loving daylights out of me, because it's not just the mosquitoes. Most of the insects that trout feed on, there's just a fraction of them out there that there used to be, even in the last 30 years. Fishermen used to be able to count on what they call hatches. When, all of the stars align, there'd be some particular species of insect. And as you probably know, most of these spend most of their life underwater. The ones that are of interest to fishermen spend most of their lives underwater. And at some point, all the conditions are right, and an email goes out, and all of these little insects at their nymphal stage will come up to the surface. And all break out of their nymph cases and take off at the same time, which means an absolute feeding frenzy for the things that feed on them. But you don't see those huge hatches anymore. And I think most trout fishermen, it scares the daylights out of them.
Yeah.
But it's, as I say, it's become extreme in the last few years, and I think it's specifically since those neonics have come into being. I think that most beekeepers would be in total agreement with that too.
Yes, I've had apiary people on, and they're very afraid of what's happening to
Yeah.
the bee population.
Yeah.
People are trying to do pollinator gardens
Yeah.
because they've noticed, like bats.
Yeah.
I used to see bats, and
Yeah.
now I don't. I
Yeah.
don't see bats, and
No.
bats are very important.
Now, a big reason is that fungus that hit bats.
That's true, the white
But
fungus.
yeah, the white nose fungus.
Yep.
But
That was
I
years
don't,
ago.
I don't know whether there's any kind of a recovery going on with that now or not. I like to think I've seen a few more bats in the last year or two than I have in the previous 10, but that might be wishful thinking. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the reason why I mention this is that there are so many consumer products that people buy every day
Yeah.
that if you read the label, it's not just what it does that attracts you, it's what it does that you don't even know about.
Yeah.
And people have had a lot of research on these products, and they're still available, they're still sold, but when it goes down, it hurts things. And this is when you have to decide, how green does my lawn have to be? How
Yeah.
thick does it have to be?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And
With all due respect.
no, again,
You know, with
and
all due
I
respect.
prefer a mixed bag lawn, in fact.
Most gardeners will
Yeah.
say you want different species
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
It's not
we-
going to be like a golf course, you know.
A golf course is absolutely barren. It's,
Yeah.
it's a desert. It's a bio-desert, you know?
It's a source of a lot of pollution too.
Yeah,
Massive.
yeah. Again, that runoff that goes
Yeah.
into the watershed, the phosphates that run off into the watershed,
Yep.
and the insecticides. But so there's a lot of difficulty facing the trout, and ladies and gentlemen, they're a bellwether. It's for what's hitting the rest of us,
That's
whether
why
you
we-
fish or not.
That's why we have Steve here. When spring is hit, finally, we're coming into the good weather. People are out more. This is when you want to think about things you might take for granted all the time. So many things are changing. Government funding is being compromised. And when it's cut, the effects take a while to show. But trying to fix something when it's broken is very, very difficult or impossible sometimes. That's it.
My last, pitch will be,
Yeah.
The state has limits, catchery limits. The state sells about 100, and the last count I got a couple of years ago, I kind of pushed a project a few years back about catch and release. State last report sold about 120,000 fishing license a year. Now add however many, tens or hundreds of thousands of kids, mix that into the batch. They only stock about 700,000 trout a year. Now, do that math. If you're a fisherman,
Yeah.
if you go out and catch your limit of 5 trout a day, that doesn't go very far.
That's kind of like the end of the season.
Yeah,
kind of.
that's fishing is shot. A trout these days, it hits off the stocking truck. It's going to be lucky if it lasts a day. So for gosh sake, limit what you can keep. It's like, okay, keep 1 or 2, but why don't you just enjoy the fishing?
Yeah.
Release them safely and. Enjoy the fishing a little bit longer.
Just enjoy the fishing. It's
Yeah,
been a long
it's-
time for me, but I used to hang out on Moosehead Lake
Oh man!
with
oh.
the bullheads.
Oh man!
And it's just being in the water in the early
Yeah.
morning with the light. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter how
it's
many
like-
you catch. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
matter.
like, who needs the stupid fish?
Yeah, it's
like,
just being there.
It's like
It's beautiful.
It's just being out there where they are.
Yeah. Moosehead Lake. Moosehead Lake.
Yeah.
Moosehead Lake.
No, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go.
I gave it away.
Too many people go there. No.
Tourism.
People caught them all. Then don't go up there. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I want to thank Steve Gerling for being here today. He works throughout the year also at the Ashford Area Arts Council, and he'll come back for some of their projects. But right now, I want to give you the website one more time, thamesvalleytu.org. If you're a fisherman, check it out, get information, let other people know what they can do at home to protect the environment, because it also affects fishing. And I wish you a great season. Thanks for being here.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for being here.
My
All righty.
pleasure.
So we have a little bit of time left today because the Red Sox, my condolences, they lost today. Sorry about that. I'll light a candle at midnight. But what I have is a song for you and for Steve. One of my heroes is Dr. John. He did a whole album of music by Duke Ellington, and he chose rarely recorded songs, not the hits that you may know, but things that were rarely done, like Flaming Sword. This one is a perfect way to wrap up my conversation with Steve. You'll enjoy it. Even if you don't fish, you'll like this song, I'm Gonna Go Fishing.
Woke up this morning, wanted to die. Then I remembered, yes, I knew why. She was a good one till she turned fake. Now I'm gonna go fishing, jump in a lake. I'm gonna go fishing, that's what I do. Think about nothing, not even you. Catch me a big one, fine speckled trout. Stop in the water, I pull her right out. Sweet talking liar, spinning a yarn. Told me a big one, big as a bone. Gonna stop listening, ain't no doubt about it. I'm gonna go fishing, land me a trout. She was some kind of liar, a three-time fool. Got a PhD in breaking the rules. She gonna lose now, yes, you find out. When I go fishing, gonna catch me a trout. Get ready to break it down, go fishing now. Deep in the water, down go the line. Catch me a good one, taste it for fried. Play out my reel now, just how I feel now. I'm on steer right now, gonna catch me a trout. Fishing, fishing, yeah. Fishing, fishing, yeah. Trout was a sweet talking lie in fall. Told me some stories right off the wall. Gonna go my way, right down the highway. I'm gonna go fishing,
great record, and it's a great collection. It's got some other Duke Ellington classics as well, but the tune is a perfect thing for Steve to enjoy. And
I think
There
the
you
next
go.
time I go fishing out on a nice, quiet trout stream, I'll usually got a pack I carry all my stuff in, and I'll
Yep.
swing a boom box. I've got a little boom box.
there you go.
I'll sling that over the other shoulder for the enjoyment of everybody out there enjoying those nice, quiet trout
Well, you
streams.
play that song on the water, and the fish.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they may
They'll
get
come to
his
you.
vibe, you know.
And they start dancing on the surface.
He's got that
and-
voodoo
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
you know. Dr. John, rest in peace wherever you are in the great gig in the sky. Okay, before we close, I have a calendar with a few events I want to mention to you too. Click has a big fundraiser coming up on April 10th. It's got Lake Street Drive at Mohegan Sun. We had some of the folks on from Click talking about that, but that is, if you go to the Click website, clickwillimantic.com, it's April 10th, Lake Street Drive in concert at Mohegan Sun. It's a big fundraiser for Click. On Saturday, April 11th, is the next Repair Cafe. We had people on last week. Jenny Walton was here with somebody else who was involved. It's from 10 to 2 at the First Congregational Church, a few blocks away from us here on Valley Street. The Repair Cafe is there for you to take things that you might otherwise throw out. People are there as volunteers. They fix things as a repair. There's food there, coffee. There's all kinds of pastries while you're waiting to have things done. They do book repair, bicycle repair, knife sharpening, electrical repairs, sewing. They really are part of an international movement for recycling to avoid throwing things out unnecessarily when they can be reused. So that's from 10 to 2 on Saturday the 11th at the First Congregation Church. The Molten Lava Cinema has a film series celebrating American labor. The next one they just did Salt of the Earth on March 26th. They opened with Modern Times, the great Charlie Chaplin film. The next one they have is Killer of Sheep, April 23rd. The film series is at that great art space, 31 Molten Court, very close to us as well. But that's the Molten Film Series. And I have an announcement, too. Next week on April 8th, I'm very happy to have Chris Anino back in the house for the New England Music Hall of Fame. They have a special event coming up on April 24th. We're going to talk about that. They're going to have a legendary concert with many of the winners and inductees. Chris is a great guy. It's been great to have him in the studio a couple of times. He'll be here on April 8th. So I'll look forward to talking about that Hall of Fame for New England. And that's it for this week. If you want to get involved, if you have news, use email to make that connection. John at Human Arts Media. We're welcome to have you here, and we'll see you next week.